Hello everyone, welcome to Jamaica 411. Thank you so much for stopping by, keeping me company as usual. I want to especially thank all my subscribers and viewers for supporting my channel, for subscribing and sharing my videos to your friends and your families. Please give the video a thumbs up if you like the content. If you like the content, and you are always welcome to leave your comments. Now, I don't know what to say now, but these band of brothers, boy, I don't know what they have been up to. But in the short space of time that the bus out went and bus out, I am telling you the things that we have learned. My. Do I have another treat for you? Coming out of that Reason with RATTIGAN program on August 24, 2024. You would not believe what happened during the program. So rather than try to explain to you what it is that Mr. RATTIGAN said, which I find, and I mean at the time when I was watching, I was so shocked, about Herb Nelson. And I also found where Herb made some statements on another program, Sutherland TV, 4 days later, but he did not respond to what RATTIGAN is saying. He was very cautious, though, in his responses and replies to the questions asked by Dennis Sutherland. And one must wonder if what RATTIGAN was saying had some truth in it. One must wonder. And if there's any truth in it, where is the truth? The jury is out, but what I'll do in the meantime is let you listen for yourself. And even if you've heard it before, I want you to listen again, because sometimes when we listen to a thing more than once, we hear things that we did not notice before. So let me go ahead and play what Mr. RATTIGAN said. Let's listen.
We talked about Dr. Francis a while ago. Let's talk about somebody else now, somebody you just mentioned, Mr. Herb. Now, I met Dr. Francis in 2016 in Jamaica at the Pegasus Hotel during the period that the diaspora conference was being held in Kingston. And I seem to recall meeting Mr. Herb Nelson as a member of Dr. Francis's entourage. Because when I met Dr. Francis, he had a whole bunch of people with him. Now, I didn't speak to Mr. Herb Nelson for years because I just met him briefly. So the acquaintance didn't develop until a few years after that. Now here is something. People go get to know family members, get to know neighbors, get friends, get everybody and sit down and listen to this. Because at one time I will say this. Everything me I say right just says one time. As you all know, Dr. Francis is the administrator and the leader of the task force. A few years ago, he had a difference of opinion with this same man, Mr. Herb Nelson. And he removed Mr. Nelson from the task force. What did Mr. Nelson do? Mr. Nelson obtained the email list of the task force members, and at the time they had more than 200 members. And Mr. Nelson authored an email. It was a scathing attack on Dr. Francis. And he accused, and remember now, this is not just to me. I got the email, but it wasn't to me. It was, if you look at the list, it went to everybody and their mother. And Mr. Nelson accused Dr. Francis in that email that he sent to a whole heap of people of being involved in the brutal murder of innocent Jamaicans. That incident became known as the Green Bay Massacre.
Let me pause here for a moment to inform you that on the Sutherland TV show, Captain Rupert Francis was also a guest with Herb Nelson. And on the program, he did respond to this allegation made by WILFRED RATTIGAN. He said that at the time in the JDF, he was working in the JDF, he was the head of the military police, not the military intelligence unit. And my certain knowledge is that the military intelligence unit was the one that carried out that operation. He said he was with the military police and had nothing whatsoever to do with Green Bay or the planning or execution of the Green Bay massacre in 1978, I believe it was.
Or Green Bay killing. So he accused him of being involved in it. What happened after? Dr. Francis contacted me. Now, I'm no whole heap of lawyers, you know. He contacted me and asked me to sue Mr. Nelson for defamation of character. And although there was a case to be made, I felt that, yeah, we could look into it. I informed Dr. Francis that I would not initiate legal proceedings against Mr. Nelson. Instead, I reasoned with him, reasoned with Rattigan, and I implored him. I begged him, I said, forgive Mr. Nelson and just move on with the business of the task force. And thankfully, Dr. Francis heeded my advice. Now, here's a statement I'm offering for the fact that it was said to me, not necessarily because it's true. I was recently told that Mr. Nelson, in a telephone conversation with an individual in Jamaica, stated that Dr. Francis was involved in the Green Bay massacre and also several killings in the Waterhouse area. Now, I have been told that there are victim families in the Olympic Gardens and Waterhouse areas who would like to meet with Dr. Francis to ask about the demise of their loved ones. I was also asked to broker this event, and I refused. No, Mr. Nelson is at it again. He has visibility on the foundation's finances. And you remember when we did the telethon, that he sat there at his computer and he could tell you, oh yeah, we're getting money from this person, we get this amount, that amount. He had visibility on the account. Now he's been contacting people, including those who contacted us via Zelle. And in fact, some people even block him right now. And he's been telling people all kinds of stories. He has even contacted an investigative reporter and gave that reporter information about his own friend, Dr. Francis. He threw Dr. Francis on a bus. Under the bus. I got this information this week. He threw him under the bus. Now, during again, people, friends and family members to come listen. One time, during the spat with Mr. Nelson, with Dr. Francis, during the time that he kicked him off of the task force and they had this breakup, Mr. Nelson came to me and told me that Dr. Francis was incompetent and untrustworthy. He stated that during one of the occasions that I applied for the position of police commissioner, Dr. Francis met with members of the military intelligence unit and advised them to use their influence to prevent me from being considered for the post of police commissioner. Why? Because I was uncontrollable and would cause problems. Imagine that. This was told to me by Mr. Herb Nelson, that Dr. Francis spoke to military people, influential people, and told them, don't let Rattigan's application even be seen or considered because he's wayward, he's come here is going to cause problems. And while all of this is going on, guess what? Dr. Francis was gleefully telling me, I support you. I support your candidacy. A few months ago, I'm telling you, listen to this. A few months ago, I was informed by a highly placed, reliable source that both Dr. Francis and Mr. Nelson spoke disparagingly about me to military personnel. Both of them. So we have Mr. Nelson telling me that it was Dr. Francis talking to the military people. And now I'm hearing that no, it's not only Dr. Francis. Dr. Francis did it, but he did it alongside Mr. Nelson. One could reasonably ask, then if you know all of this, Rattigan, why you continue to associate with them? Very simple answer. I associated with them because of my love for the Jamaican people. Despite these two men alleged transgressions, they do bring value to the mission. We cannot deny that. They do bring value. Mr. Herb Nelson is a talented analyst, and Dr. Francis, he has a ton of experience. They do bring value. And I willingly put aside my personal feelings and collaborated with them in the pursuit of educating our people, exposing corruption, and addressing poor governance. That's why I did it. And regrettably, I did so to my detriment. Now, as indicated prior to, but particularly since his removal from the foundation, Mr. Nelson has reached out and continues to contact lots of people as an agent of division to sow discord, spread lies, and pit us against each other instead of meeting to discuss and resolve outstanding issues. A lot of you say, why we couldn't talk? And I say, of course, we could. But these men, they decided to go public. But he's not alone. I am aware that some members of the Call to Action group are also involved in the plan to destroy the foundation. But God willing, they will not succeed. I, along with many supporters, pray daily and earnestly for your wife's full recovery. From all accounts, you have a very stable and decent family. Why am I saying this? To preface something very important that you should not ignore. Do not ignore what I'm about to say. There is an agency with whom you had an affiliation, and it has very strong protocols regarding the accessing and dissemination of information. There are severe consequences for breaching those protocols. You and I know what you have done regarding those protocols with a particular file. A single communication to them will definitely cause you to regret your actions for the rest of your natural life. Therefore, I am kindly asking you to let the One Jamaica Legal Defense Foundation and its members continue on the journey of seeking relief for the Jamaican people without any interference from you and the others. We have embarked on an ambitious human rights project that will result with a complaint being filed against the Jamaican government. That is the foundation I'm talking about. We are also planning a major conference in the New York area for next spring. I mentioned that earlier too. In the same vein, I urge you to stay focused on the organizations that you and the others control. I am also appealing to those who love, admire, and adore you, Mr. Nelson. I'm appealing to all of you to counsel him regarding the destructive path he has chosen and the inevitable consequences. Finally, my brother, please know that out of respect and concern for you and your family, I've resisted contacting those folks because I know what they're capable of. You do too. They may not come next week or next month, but they'll come. Your life will never be the same. Your family and contacts will undergo unbearable scrutiny. Further, the consequences you will face will be more than you can bear at your advanced age and stage of life. My brother, Mr. Nelson, the next move is yours. And I'm saying this with all the conviction I can muster. If I get another negative reporting anywhere and perceive that my brother, Mr. Nelson, had something to do with it, that communication is going out immediately. Again, my brother, the next move is yours.
You heard that? You think that we should take that threat seriously? What about Herb? You think he should take it seriously? Well, I don't know, but I'm going to let you listen to Herb now on the Sutherland TV, and my word, what he had to say, I was baffled. I mean, it baffled me no end. But you listen and you tell me what you think.
I want to hear a little bit from Mr. Herb Nelson. Mr. Herb Nelson, how you doing? Thanks for coming you just give us a 2 or 3 minutes synopsis of who Herb Nelson and how did you get to be a part of Call to Action?
Well, Herb Nelson served 24 years in the U.S. Army with background in special operations, admin, logistics, and some military police support skills. Once I completed my term in the military at 24 years, I completed that recruiting and career counseling.
Okay.
I went on to the intelligence community, where a lot of the skills I learned in the military, I found it readily applicable to the intelligence community. Of course, I did my training within the community and just went on to become an analyst within the intelligence community. I found when I was in the community that I was able to see a lot of things happening in the Caribbean that I was concerned about. And I saw the same thing when I was in special operations, especially with the Michael Manley era. And, I figured I would get some answers while I was in the intelligence committee, which I did.
Which you did. And that is a very interesting commentary on your part, Herb. You wanted answers to some questions, and you figure you would have gotten it from the intelligence community. You are given the impression that you specifically joined the intelligence community to get answers. Perhaps you did. But what then is Mr. Rattigan talking about with you and some file and some agency that you were involved in? Not just an intelligence community, but an agency, apparently very hostile and dangerous people who don't like when people mess with them files and such like. What kind of people them the Herbie? Talk to me now, man. You can't tell me no. So tell me something now, Herb. A true Rattigan talk? It's true? Did you take the file out from an agency you're associated with? And what was that about? And who were they? They had to be the Central Intelligence Agency, Herb, not true? For the description that Mas Rattigan gave of what that agency can do to you, that agency has to be a state-sponsored intelligence agency. No private company would have the power to do those things. That would be illegal. But for a state-sponsored intelligence agency, no, not illegal at all. Right? And the only state-sponsored intelligence agency any of us know of with the authority to operate outside of the United States is the CIA. You're a CIA agent, Mas Herb? Nothing wrong with that, Man must eat and go wherever his heart is. Now, if you were with the CIA, as Rattigan seems to be suggesting about this file that you took out of the agency, you could only have done that because you were not a field agent. You weren't in the business of being sent abroad to be a spy. No, you would have been behind the scenes. You were an intelligence analyst, weren't you? Right? And this is how you would have had access to their files. And you were digging up information on Jamaica, particularly the 1970s. It is also possible that it is not the Jamaican file that you actually have, but the file of one of those companies you worked for who are suppliers of military hardware and software to the United States government. So Mas Herb, is one of them companies' file you remove? Which file Rattigan is talking about? Was it a file on Jamaica or one of those defense contractors of the United States government? Which one? And so this is how now Wilfred Rattigan will become aware that you removed a file, because you told him. You told him what was in the file and that you have the file, right? Believing that you were speaking to an honorable brother who knows how to keep his mouth shut. But evidently he didn't. And now, Mass Herb, you're in big, big, big trouble. Because when your former boss, the CIA, find out, and I mean after Rattigan balled it out, it will be only a matter of time before they hear about it. Let me recap what it was that you said and see if we can discover whether you let out any secrets or what kind of file you may have removed from this agency that Rattigan was talking about. Or you want pinch me and tell me. You can't tell me, me not going to talk and tell anybody. Me not chatty mouth like Rattigan. What you gonna tell Rattigan that for? You don't know the man from Adam. You just meet him 2016 and you gonna chat out them sitting there tell him. And here you are on Sutherland TV. I chat out the something them again. If you say you are associated with the intelligence community and there were questions and special up. I want if you know that there are people out here can read between the lines very well, Herb. You Herbie? This is what you said. That for 24 years you were in the U.S. Army and you have a background, you said, in special operations. Now we must look to see what special operations is before we can continue. So here's a little snippet put out by the U.S. Army, no less. It says, what do Army Special Ops do? It says, Special Forces, also called the Green Beret, are guerrilla warfare experts who use unexpected and unconventional techniques to carry out missions abroad. It goes on to say, Special Operations, Special Forces soldiers are among the elite of the military and conduct missions with a focus on surveillance and developing defense capabilities. Wikipedia goes on to say that the former United States Special Operations units, which is what you said you were a part of, Special Operations, are disbanded or otherwise dormant unconventional warfare units of the United States military. Most units were created to fulfill categorical obligations within a particular conflict, meaning, like a war, like a skirmish, things like that, and were disbanded once that conflict ended. So if they send some special ops to, say, operate in, say, Panama or in Libya, once they're assembled for that purpose. My impression is that's what this is saying. They're assembled for that purpose and they have a mission that they carry out. And once the mission is over, then they must deploy them somewhere else. That's my understanding. But if anybody who is listening to this video knows how the special ops units operate in the United States, go right ahead and leave that information in the comment section. I'm sure we'll all appreciate it. So that was what Mass Herb was involved in the U.S. Army. He also said, apart from special ops, he was also in admin, logistics, and what he called military police support skills. So he said once he left the army after serving for 24 years, he completed a recruiting and career consulting course, apparently. And then he went on to the intelligence community. That was how he described it. Didn't give us any information. He provided us with no timetable for when he joined the army, nor when he left the army, only that he was there for 24 years, that he was in the intelligence community for 16 years, but he provided no other information to us. But you know that at Jamaica 411, that's you and I, we are very resourceful. And so we have ways and means of checking, and sometimes we get lucky. But we have tested our luck, and I will tell you shortly how it turned out. Now, Mas Herb went on to say that, of course, I did my training within the community and became an analyst within the intelligence community. So if he had to do training, it would imply that he was not an intelligence officer in the army when he was there, wouldn't it? Yes, I think so. So he left the army, went to the intelligence community, and he had to be specially trained to become an intelligence analyst. Now, this is the part that I found most interesting and revealing. And I'll tell you what it appears to reveal to me. I found when I was in the community that I was able to see a lot of things happening in the Caribbean that I was concerned about. And I saw the same thing when I was in the special operations, especially with the Michael Manley era. Now, let me pause here and get back to some timetable now and see if we can figure out what the dickens Mas Herb talking about. Now, all I had to do was to Google Herbert Nelson and bam, and there I found Mas Herbie. You may find this information in LinkedIn. It's a social networking platform. Now, as you can see, it appears as though Mas Herbie is a little bit forgetful because he says here, my background has a range starting with over 30 years of U.S. military service, contracting, as well as research, competitive and intelligence analysis in various markets, international IGO agreement violations, proliferation of illegal goods, cross-border trafficking illegalities, and market analysis. Market analysis. My goal is continued work within the government and within the international arena to address complex issues as they have a direct impact on our lives. And then he said his specialties, what are they? Competitive and intelligence analysis to detect, deter, evaluate, estimate, eliminate issues identified by government investigations. And then himself a soccer buff and so on. So thankfully in LinkedIn, Mas Herb gave us the information that we were wondering about. He was in the U.S. Army. He joined in 1972. That's the same year that the Michael Manley that he spoke about, the Michael Manley era. That's when he joined in 1972. And he retired in 1996. That's 24 years. Is that correct? Yes. What did he do in the Army? He said here, recruiting and retention operations manager, responsible for coverage of U.S. Army Military District of Washington, Northeastern installations from 1990 to 1994, and 46 installations of the Military Traffic Management Command, CONUS and OCONUS, from 94 to 96. At the time when he retired from the U.S. Army, he was a master sergeant. All right? So, he was in Jamaica, I believe they call these ranks non-commissioned officers. The commissioned officers start at second lieutenant up, and the non-commissions are below those ranks. So he would have been a non-commissioned officer. So let us see if we can reason a little bit now, Mas Herb. At the time when you joined the U.S. military in 1972, and you left in 96 after 24 years as a master sergeant. So what rank did you start the military at? Right? You'd have started at the lower rank. So when you were in the special ops during the 70s, during the Michael Manley era, you would not have been an officer that is responsible for the special ops. You would have been a soldier, perhaps a low-ranking soldier, right? So you would not be privy to certain information about the operations and what the operations were about. When orders came for you to move out, you probably didn't even know where you were going. You were a soldier, you were given orders, and you carry out those orders. Now, let me ask you a question. When you said that I found when I was in the community, the intelligence community, that I was able to see a lot of things happening in the Caribbean I was concerned about, right? That's what you said. And I saw the same thing when I was in special operations, especially with the Michael Manley era. So make we reason this thing out now. You were in special ops during the Michael Manley period. So that is how you started in the army. You would have been in special ops. Do you realize what it was you were telling us, Herb? Mas Herb? Hmm? If you're a man in intelligence, you're a very talkative fellow, you know. You would have to be talkative if you're going to tell Rattigan about you take out file, assuming that he's speaking the truth. Hmm? And what him find in a file that he can now come use it to threaten you. You must, Herb? So let me ask you a serious question now. You were a low-ranking soldier in special ops. Where did you come to see during the Michael Manley era things that concerned you? You saw the same thing happening in the 90s that you saw happening in the 70s while you're in special ops. So hold on there now. Mass Herb, away you try to tell me, say, the U.S. Army was carrying out a special operation in Jamaica while we had a duly and properly elected government? Hold on, the Mass Herb. No. We hear about the CIA that was in Jamaica operating, you know. But your own language appears to me to be suggesting that you are saying that in the 1970s you were in Jamaica as a member of the United States Army Special Ops Unit carrying out an operation. You had to be here in Jamaica carrying out the operation as a low-ranking officer for you to be talking about. You saw the same thing happening in the 90s that was happening in the 70s. Mas Herb, you know you talk too much, but guess what? We are very grateful for your admission. Viewers and subscribers, Herb Nelson, by his utterances on Sutherland TV, appears to me to have told us something that none of us knew before. We all knew that the CIA, we all heard that the CIA was here, and some CIA personnel later on came out and said it's true. What we never knew was that the United States Army was carrying out special ops operation in Jamaica. Mas Herb was part of it, is what I'm telling us, right? He saw some things that were happening in the Caribbean that he was concerned about. And I saw the same thing. I saw him never saying here, like this little bit of blood when she talked about how she see this and she see that. Like said she was there. Yes, he said he saw it. I saw things when I was in special operations. He was not an officer, senior officer. He was not in the command center. Therefore, he was one of the special ops unit members. He was a soldier, and that is where he sees it. And if he sees it as a soldier, and he saw it as a soldier, then it meant that they were here in Jamaica carrying out them whatever operation they were carrying out. As soon as the operation was complete, the unit was disbanded, and then he was transferred to some other area of, I guess, special ops, or maybe some other area of the army. This is the reason why you cannot have dual citizens in your parliament, if I may segue a bit to make that point. Because when you have a U.S. citizenship and you swear allegiance to that flag, or any flag for that matter, right? And them tell you that you need to go into your country and carry out operations. Heaven knows what the hell they were doing here. That was what he was doing. He was acting against this country's interest while being a member of another country's army. And he's come tell us now that he want to do what for us? And he's acting on whose behalf? No, Mass Herb. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. But keep on talking, because I'm sure if there's something else to be said, you will say it. So Mass Herb said he worked for 16 years in the intelligence community. You heard when he said so, right? He started with this one, MVM Incorporated. You can check LinkedIn. You will see him list all of them. Then he had the General Dynamics that he worked for 4 years and 1 month from 98 to 2002. Northrop Grumman Mission Systems. He worked there as an intelligence analyst from 2002 to 2006. And from 2006 to 2013, he was at Booz Allen Hamilton. I never know so all of them places. The CIA. Was it the CIA operations? All of them are contractors with the U.S. government. I mean, if you ever hear some of the things that them people produce, I mean, General Dynamics is the 5th largest defense contractor in the world by arms sales. They also produce nuclear-powered submarines, guided missile destroyers, M1 Abrams tanks, and the Skylar armored fighting vehicles. Then you have Northrop. They seem to be the developers, or the main one, for the stealth bombers, nuclear weapons, solid rocket booster for NASA. So, and some place him used to work. So if Wilfred Rattigan is to be believed, it would have been one of these companies' files that he would have pinched. Or, as an intelligence analyst working for the CIA, he may have had access to sensitive CIA files, and it may have been from there that he pinched a file. Mass Herb, Rattigan is saying, that you take what the people them file. Are true? It's true, and it's which people them. Because the way I talk about, them people that look like they can hot up your head real bad. I must the CIA I talk about. Then Mass Herb, you really detect what the CIA file? You can't tell me, me not talk and tell nobody. No, me not stay like Rattigan. That the chatty mouth man, me we keep a secret. But, well, maybe we tell Karen, and maybe my pinch and tell, Natalie. But, it's not going to further than that. So talk and tell me. Tell me no, man, sure. Pinch and tell me, man. Or which one of the people and file you take away? Or it's like Motamas Eliza Rattigan tell upon you. I like my tell upon you. So me believe him though. Me believe him. You know why I believe him? Because he never responded to that. You respond to so many other things he said, but not that. And you're very cautious in your words, as if you don't want him to make that call. Anyway, folks, that is what I had for you. Mr. Herb, in his mutterings on Sutherland TV, in my interpretation of what he said, the man admitted that he was a part of a special ops operation by the U.S. Army with territorial waters and within our borders in the 1970s and passing our business. Him, a Jamaican citizen of a loving country, acting for another agent, another country, against us at the time. Against us. I wonder if the killing of all them people in a waterhouse that him blaming on Francis. Francis, who is a military police. As far as I know, military police job is inside the camp. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, please let me know. But the special ops could have been the ones running around the place shooting all them people in Waterhouse. Not true, Master. Talk truth. And the special ops that kill the people in a Waterhouse? Is them, or should I say, is Uno? Anyway, folks, that's it for me today. Thank you so much for joining me, keeping me company as usual. Remember to give the video a thumbs up if you like the content, share, subscribe, and leave your comments in the comments section. Until next time, take good care of yourself and walk good.